Yes, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jack Farmer, and I am here with Flobo Boyce, and we are coming to you live from sunny Southern California. And if we got a show for you, it's Jack and Flobo wrestling with your questions. And I'm calling this one the Great American Fyter Fest Bashapalooza 2020.
By the beach.
We had a crazy couple weeks. We weren't here last week, so we got a lot of questions and things we got to catch up on. But before all that, before we get started, before we get the technicalities going and all that fun stuff, let's start with a segment I like to call Small Talk. It's where we just chat about things. Just say hello.
Hey, what's up, man?
We just catch up.
First of all, tell us about you this week on AEW Dynamite. You guys are on fire, bro. Like, that show is the best show of the network, hands down.
You're too kind. You're just being nice.
Oh, keep going. No, it's true. It's absolutely true.
You're just putting me over because I put over your T-shirt last week on the Cinematic Experience Palooza. I put totally a Palooza next to anything.
Yeah. Do my laundry Palooza. No, it was a pleasant surprise. I was like, oh, yeah, sweet.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. Yeah, we got a really good crew right now. And I always say it's funny, like it's never a shot at anyone who was on the crew before, but it just feels like right now things are sort of clicking a little bit differently than before. I think there's, we're like any show, we're like episode 2 as a full unit, and there's always some sort of learning each other going on, but I think that we've got a pretty high ceiling with this crew. So hopefully we get to keep them around because you never know.
Yeah, you got to somehow bounce off your Brosters promos of somebody, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sweet
now,
coffee,
speaking of Brosters, I am enjoying a really flavorful Russo Bro cup as we speak.
I walked right into that. I just went head first right into the. Go on, Jack. Tell me what it is.
Look, there's taglines. There's things I can say. There's specialty blend, single roast, roasted weekly, all this other stuff you can find at www.thebrosters.com. But I'm just gonna say it's good coffee, man. It's good. I drink it all day. I have. I'm one of those guys that likes to keep a cup next to me full of coffee all day, and it's just good all day drinking coffee. This particular flavor is definitely a morning coffee, though. I always say it's the bacon and egg coffee. It tastes good with some skillet cooked good breakfast food.
So it's a light roast. What's the note flavor profile?
This one's a medium. It's a Nicaraguan roast. It's medium roast. It's 3 out of 5 on the dark rating. But it's pretty good. Look, when they send it, it says all this stuff.
It's literally it's Vince Russo's face.
It's Vince Russo's face. And it's got a Best Buy date because it's all like quality stuff, and so you only got a few months to drink it because it's good. It's not like that mass-produced garbage you get from the grocery store. It's made by it's one of those small businesses. I love small businesses. It's supporting small businesses. It's a couple that owns the thing, and it's great. I like it. You should definitely try it. www.thebrosters.com. We're 3 minutes into just talking about coffee and sponsorships and all that good stuff.
Why not? Right? Why the hell not?
Yeah, I mean.
He's like, well, you're slacking with an energy drink. Switch over to coffee.
Some we were working on backstage, and people may notice that I'm struggling to get ready here. I wasn't fully ready. We're looking at changing the channel that we're going to be on right now. We're on the Flobo YouTube channel, and we are looking at making the change over to the Jack Farmer channel. And
is that what's going to be called? Is this the Jack Farmer? Is it going to be like Hall of Farmer Entertainment?
I have no idea. But I want to say one of the reasons I want to bring it up is I just want to give credit to you, kudos to you. One of the reasons we're making the change is we're trying to find the best way to present this, and you have so much content right now, but you are being very selfless in this, and you're saying, Jack, you're trying to get your YouTube page up and going. Let's have it on yours so that you can get those views and those viewing hours and all that kind of stuff up. And so just publicly, I want to say I appreciate you doing that.
But in private, you heard it.
in private. This is my show, Flobo.
No, dude, I totally get it, man. YouTube is a fantastic thing, and of course, the show will be on other platforms too, not just YouTube. But when it comes to being recognized, they recognize what they consider small is a way bigger than what we are right now. So whatever gets the Jack Farmer page going, yeah, I don't see a problem with that at all.
Yeah, and people who are listening or watching or any of that good stuff, let us know in the comments. And we always say let us know in the comments, but this is one of those things where you can actually help. Let us know in the comments how you prefer to digest this kind of stuff. Do you prefer hearing it and seeing it on YouTube? Do you prefer iTunes? Do you prefer Spotify? The goal is over the next few weeks to start getting these uploaded to all different platforms: Twitch, Spotify, iTunes. I want to be able to wave that magic hand and say Real Jack Farmer across all social media, and, you know, the knockoff Flobo across all social media.
What the?
That would actually be a good handle if someone had knockoff instead of or imitation
Right.
instead of real, because everyone uses real or actual or whatever.
It's the valid Jack Farmer.
Yeah, I'm just gonna make the copycat Jack Farmer or whatever. But I wanted to make sure. Oh, Derek in the chat, as always good to see you, buddy. You check it out on YouTube, so perfect. I have a feeling most people at this point are going to say YouTube because that's the only really avenue that they can at this point. But
Right.
You know, if we have any crossover folks from like AfterBuzz who are watching that, prefer the audio only, or if I don't know if people are on Twitch. I'm so old and uncool, I don't know anything about Twitch. But speaking of getting old, Flobo, you had a birthday. How'd it go, man?
It was great, man. It's actually last Thursday, which is interesting to me because 2 days before my birthday, I felt like time had slowed down. And now it's, bam, it was last week already. It was pretty cool. I went out and with one friend for lunch and one friend for dinner, and I was still freaking out about keeping my hands clean on the restaurant patio. And I dipped in to see the cinematic episode as a fan, which is really weird to watch yourself, even though we do it for like AfterBuzz for notes, but to watch something that we create, to be like, oh, wow, why do I have a robe? I have no idea why I have a robe. But it was a lot of fun, man. Get all this, considering all the quarantines and being isolated, I think this was the best one. A lot of people came out. People bought T-shirts, let me know. They streamed the songs. One friend made my drink, the one I advertised on my Facebook page. I had a special drink that I did when I was running for office. So, yeah, it was great, man. It really was.
Yeah, I had that drink. Was I drinking then? I can't remember. I remember I was at one of your parties.
It was my speech, my public outreach day. You came through.
Yeah. I was there. I can't remember if I was still drinking at that point or not, because I quit drinking. And I can't remember if I had it or if I was like, I'll have a root beer, please, and everyone laughing at me.
Yes, collectively. Vote for him.
Why are you laughing like you're in an anime movie or something?
Like, my face doesn't move, my mouth does. It's just like really
You're
big.
a fool. Ha ha ha. I will beat you. Ha ha.
Camera pans up to right. But yeah, best birthday ever, man. Thanks a lot for everyone helped out.
Yeah, you had a big one. It was a good one. I think you're 25 now. You'd mentioned, I want to talk to you. We're going to go off the rails a little bit. I didn't put this in the show notes. I'm just, because you'd mentioned it.
I know.
We got a question from Haywood, and I'm going to kind of jump ahead in the notes here. Ask about, he asked us if you would sign a waiver before going to a live wrestling event on Twitter. You had a good response. I'm going to steal it from you. I'm just going to say it now. Most of the time, it's in the small print when you buy a ticket. And that's how you can kind of get around that. But I wanted to talk to you just kind of about all this stuff going on. And, on social media, we talk about, like, you got to wear a mask everywhere you go. But then sometimes there's a reality of it. Do you really wear a mask? You can check the mail and stuff like this. How do you feel about this whole kind of virus going around? I'll be honest with you. I'm one of those people where I try to wear a mask as much as I can. I do go to get the mail without a mask on. I'll go to walk my dog sometimes, and I'll forget to have a mask with me. And I was thinking, just like when this all started, I remember thinking like, oh my God, the window's open, I'm going to catch it or something.
Like the Bird Box movie. Like, yeah.
Yeah, let's just real quick, like kind of your transition of like what it was when it first started, week 1, March, I call it week one. March 14th, I believe, was like mid March. Was
That was
when
the
the
county lockdown. Yeah. Yeah.
uh
Friday.
to to how you feel now about it and where you kind of feel like it's going.
Uh, Man, it's interesting you say that. So I don't have a mask in a traditional sense. I have the neck gaiters. So to me, to go
Mhm.
outside with it around my neck, it's not as cumbersome having the strap thing. If I'm going over to my complex, the mail room or the laundry room, I don't wear the mask there. But as if I go to like the corner store, that definitely comes on. I feel like I'm okay with going out and running. Like at the first, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do 2 prison workouts today. I'm gonna go outside Wednesday to run, and Thursday's gonna be grocery store day, and that's it. I'm in. But
Yeah.
now it is kind of like lax like that. Well, I'll still run with the mask, or I'll still go to the store, but I've gone to the store twice, 3 times a week, like almost like normal. I will say this though, running's become a pain in the butt because I have the neck gaiter, so I wrap it around my head so it stays in place. But I look like a loon, so I wear a running pad so it covers that part of it. But then on Saturday, a bug flew into my eye, so now I have glasses, safety goggles, and then I have like my iTunes. Like, dude, it's like a whole process. It's like I'm going out to like fight crime, and it's just like, ugh. But I'd rather do that than get the disease. So it's like, what do I do?
Yeah, I remember I was just thinking I was thinking one of the reasons I brought this up, I was just thinking back to like week one and how we didn't know what was going on. It was kind of scary. Everything's locked down. And I remember where I live, it was like the second day of it, and you're still kind of like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Is this the end of the world? Is this nothing? What's going on? But I remember everything's locked down. No one's allowed outside. There's a killer virus out there. And I remember for some reason or other, my lights flickered once or twice, right? And I was like, "Oh my gosh, are we gonna lose power? Like, there's no food in the grocery stores. Can't go out. There's a virus." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, we're gonna lose power. Oh my, like, what's gonna happen? The whole world is really shutting down." And I remember just having a little mini panic attack. And now
Oh, yeah.
it's funny because take that, and now a few months later, I'm like, "Oh, I forgot my mask to go out for a jog." And
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I still do a pretty good job though of every time I go out, like especially if I'm going somewhere where that other people are gonna be, I put the mask on. Like if I'm gonna go into a store or if I'm gonna be somewhere. But yeah, I don't know. It's just a weird transition of thought about what to do with this stuff.
True.
But to the point of Haywood's question, signing a waiver before you go to a wrestling event, it's interesting. Signing, like if it's on a ticket, you feel like, oh yeah, of course, then that's part of it. I get it. But if you had to actually sign a waiver,
Yeah.
it kind of makes it feel different, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's why people don't do that. I think if you actually got to do a contract to do it, it's like, oh man, like
Yeah.
for example, when I first started, I'm not going to name names, but you know the person. I had a DJ gig at a celebrity's house, and
Mhm.
you would think you use common sense not to go walk up to the client like, "Hey, bro, can I get a photograph?" Because that's just
Yeah.
the way you're a professional. But I remember having to sign a waiver saying I explicitly would not do that, and it felt different, even though I had the common sense. So yeah, it does feel different sitting down to write that. That's why that's why my answer on Twitter was a non-answer. I was like, well, I don't think anyone who wants money would ever do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a whole different thing.
Do you think they'll have to start? Do you think they'll have to do something like that, or do you think there's like, look, man, it's on the ticket.
Uh, I think that they'll probably post signs or they'll have a page saying, please know the risks. I acknowledge, but never like full name, address, next to kin. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, next of kin. That's dark.
yeah.
Do you think, and just because they tie so well together, Haywood had another question asking about Broadway shutting down. Do you think wrestling will follow suit? I think the answer is no.
Right.
Wrestling ain't stopping. What are your thoughts on Broadway shutting down and how it may pertain to pro wrestling? Uh-oh. I think I got froze.
Live entertainment extravaganza and all that, and so the profit margin isn't as big as a Broadway show, because you can basically build your set once and then keep using that to maximize your profit over time. So you can have a little bit of luxury of saying I'm done. But wrestling, not so much. It's kind of like you got to keep going to keep surviving. So yeah, I wouldn't unless you're like WWE. You're the only place I could think of on the planet that can rely on a library. Everyone else has to keep going.
Yeah, it's something that I think people always miss when they start comparing wrestling to other shows as well, is a lot of these other shows, they are not publicly traded companies.
Yeah.
And WWE is. And when you're like, that's a big deal. You can't say to your shareholders, we're not doing any, as Apple saying, oh, we're not going to sell products or music or anything for the next 3 months. Like the shareholders would say, no, not acceptable.
Right.
And I think for all of us who don't have shares and all of us who aren't financially tied to it are like, well, money's, you got to balance thing. But if it's you, it's different. If it's you say, I got to make this happen.
I make it happen. I got to cover what I can. Yeah.
Yeah, it's because as we're all trying to find part-time work and whatnot during this whole thing, to say they should shut everything down, it doesn't matter. They've got enough money. It's fine. It's a little hypocritical, I think.
By the way, if you need someone to paint your house, I'll definitely come by. Part-time jobs are very important nowadays. Yeah.
At first, I thought you were saying I was like, what's wrong with my wall? I know my walls are bare, but come on, man. I thought you were trying to
do whatever you want. Man. I'll be outside with my mask on.
I am working on getting some photos back here, so this won't be bare for too long. I also got a new microphone coming in, and I'm super bummed out because it's supposed to be in today, and I wanted to play with it and use it, but it's not here yet. It'll probably come in right after we're done filming.
So, cinematic episode this weekend? Huh?
Yeah, let's do it.
I don't think the fans will care about that, but that's fine.
Yeah.
How about artists, guys?
But I wanted to go back. We talked about the cinematic show. Let us know in the chat, in the comments, wherever, how you guys felt about the cinematic show. I know it was silly. I know it was fun. We've never done anything like that before. We literally were making it up as we went. We started it with no idea where we were going. And that's what we got. So hopefully you guys liked it. Let us know if you didn't. Let us know if you'd like to see us do silly shenanigans like that again. But I don't think people want to hear about our opinions on COVID. I don't think anyone wants to hear our opinions on Broadway. I don't think anyone wants to hear about painting houses. They want to hear us talk about pro wrestling. It's been a crazy week. It was a crazy week. There's a lot of wrestling stuff that went down. A lot of stuff that went down when we weren't around. I guess went under the radar on that part. So we're just going to jump right ahead to Great American Bash. And
yeah, great. Let's do it.
I want to make sure everything I say ages properly. So we're going to start with the Great American Bash. Now, this was last night, night one. I didn't have a chance to watch it yet. I know results. I know some things. But I want to hear you. What did you think about it? I know you had a show with Hamza on AfterBuzz, but for those of us who didn't get to see, what are your overall thoughts on how the NXT is handling the Bash?
The con, brother. It's a weird thing. And this is even before Great American Bash. This is like Bash at the Beach on AEW. I like the idea, and I don't like the idea at the same time of branding shows with pay-per-view names. On one hand, it's a way to make things special, and if you treat it as such, it could be a good thing to tune into and different theming and all that. But I fear, like the cinematic matches now, it could be something you can go to the well once too often. We'll talk about the distance of time between Fyter Fest and Fight for the Fallen, for example. But I will say, of all the discarded pay-per-view names and the Great American Bash has a certain look and feel. I mean, Halloween Havoc has it too. Bash the Beach does. I'm still a Slamboree guy. I think it's pretty much dead and buried. But you get it. So if you're going to bring it back and bring old names, and you brought back War Games in your house, I think Great American Bash was a nice step. The matches were on point. Some of them were split to 2 nights, which is fine. I love the red, white, and blue theme. America needs all the love it can get right now. And the classic cars on display was pretty nice. So win-win all around.
Yeah, I'm surprised with the American theme they didn't have some kind of lockdown theme with a cage match or something.
Hot take.
Yeah, it's funny. Everyone always made fun of WCW, but now we're getting all excited about these old WCW names and things. There's a bitter part of me as a WCW fan that's like, oh, now WCW is so cool. Now WCW is a fun throwback. Where were you 20 years ago, Mr. 22-year-old?
Play with blocks. I think nostalgia helps out a lot of things. And I've realized because in preparation for this Great American Bash, I went back and watched 2007, which is my favorite bash of all of them, of the modern ones, because that theme song was dope. But there's a lot of people there in that roster that were so good retroactively. At that time, I didn't appreciate. Like, I wasn't a fan of Batista, for example, but Batista carried himself in a match against Kane and the great Khali like he was a champ. To your WCW point, yeah, no one's going to pop for WCW at Super Brawl 2000 or Greed or Sin. But yeah, looking back on it, why the heck not?
Sin, yeah.
Stampede.
Good name drop on Sin, by the way. It's always interesting. Nostalgia is one of those things. It's because you're not seeing it every single day. Batista's one of those guys, when you go back and watch his matches as a nostalgia thing, like, man, Batista was cool. Batista had that cool entrance. He had the cool fireworks, the Batista bomb. He had the look. But when you're watching him every single week and you see that same entrance every single week, suddenly it starts to not be as interesting anymore. And people miss that, I think. I think when I was talking to a buddy about... a buddy and I have been going back and forth about whether or not the WWE should keep doing live shows or if they should just show old shows, right? And so we went through and I went through and I pulled up some random, beginning of July episodes of Raw from like 2003, and they were just terrible shows. It was not interesting. It's like, okay, well, what about 1999? Let's pull up 1999, July 5th, and it was like Jeff Jarrett versus Chaz, and like Mr. Ass versus Joey Abs, and like all these other matches. Just like, oh, this is a horrible show. But we all remember it because it started with Edge and Christian versus the Acolytes, and it ended with Triple H versus The Rock. But everything in the middle was just horrible.
Funny you mentioned that, man. Like just the summer '99 got me back into wrestling. Like, I took a little break as a kid because I didn't have cable, but I went to my cousin's house, and that was like, oh my gosh, wrestling's fun again. But that was also the summer where like Big Boss Man took Al Snow's dog and cooked it and fed it to Al Snow and Kennel from Hell.
Right.
People talk about WrestleMania X7 as being the best of all time. I think the culmination of the Attitude Era was a UK pay-per-view called Rebellion 2001. That had like everybody in that card. Like, that's the one I would say is pure Attitude Era, but it was a lot of crap in there.
Yeah. Now, one thing I want to touch on too is look, they've been building up to Fyter Fest for a while, and then it felt like a week ago or 2 weeks ago they said they're going to do Great American Bash 2 nights. Or it was like Fyter Fest, and then they were going to do Great American Bash. Then Fyter Fest was like, we're going 2 nights, and then Great American Bash was like, we're going 2 nights. And a lot of people are like, hey, this is counter programming, and they're just scared or whatever. And it doesn't sit well with me, because this is competition. This is exactly what competition looks like. This is exactly what we want. I want them going for each other's throats. I want them going for the kill, because they have such good shows this way. I want them to think every time one of them is going to do something good, the other one's going to raise the stakes. That's what makes good wrestling. Am I crazy? Because everyone else seems to want to pick fights about how one side is worse than the other, but I just think I like the fighting.
You are crazy. No, I'm just kidding. No, it totally makes sense. Look, the thing about NXT is, before the Great American Bash thing, the moniker, is that they still operate on a 3-week cycle. So it's always like standard NXT match. The next week is in 2 weeks, this mega pay-per-view quality match, and then the week before that. So like, it was within their system. But yes, I'll agree with you. Naming it Great American Bash, saying it's coming back is pretty random, is with AEW. See, the thing about wrestling fans is that we all read the same sources. We all have the same person who retweets this guy, retweets that guy. And we try more than, maybe compared to Star Trek nerds, in my experience, we try so hard to be the smartest person in the room, unprovoked. Hey, did you hear about this thing? You know who's injured? You know who's pregnant? You know who's this? And it's like, I get it. Yes, WWE has this show on Wednesday and goes, hey, look, wrestling fans are divided. Let's find a way to make them not divided. And it's like Vince going around being like, I can't believe it. Fyter Fest, what are we going to do? It's like, it's common television. And it's not wrestling versus wrestling. WWE is competing with the return of sports programming. People just turning off the televisions. Give me something in the doldrums of the summer. Why the heck not, Jack? Why the heck not?
Yeah, because as you mentioned, with summertime too, that means sun's out. People are just going outside. People are just doing stuff, especially as now that they can a little bit more. So I like it. I'm all for it. I thought their set for Great American Bash looked great. I was a fan of it. I thought it felt like it fit the whole vibe. Io Shirai.
Tell you what, I would never stir the pot. Never.
I liked it. Io Shirai, Sasha Banks had a lot of fanfare going into it, and before the show, I will say before the show, I know people call me the AEW guy, and I guess that's fair. But
Kind of are, aren't you?
I guess so. But before the show, I was saying to you, just to make myself sound a little unbiased, I felt like there was more sizzle in at the Great American Bash than at Fyter Fest. I thought matches like Io Shirai versus Sasha Banks popped a little bit more on paper. Again, before the show, just from a like sales perspective, Io Shirai, Sasha Banks for the NXT title. Was it for the NXT title or was it just exhibition? Non-title. Either way, still a big match. It popped a bit more for me than even some of the bigger Best Friends versus Kenny Omega and Hangman Page, which great matches all around, but just it felt like there's a little bit more sizzle.
Yeah, so if you're looking to take a step back from the programming side of it, AEW's trump card is tag team division, so they play that up front on both nights, and NXT has a women's division. So you look at Great American Bash, pillared by the number one contenders match in the first hour, Io Shirai and Sasha in the second hour, and then a little comedy match with Rhea Ripley in between. NXT has proven that you can do a brand, they can set things up, the evolution is happening. I think it was a smart play. Now, everyone, I said this on the NXT show yesterday, every time there's a female wrestler on the WWE or NXT roster, they always say, who do you want to work with? It's always Io Shirai. She's gotten the rub for months without actually getting the rub in the ring. Like, there's no, like, Trish Stratus is coming out, it's like, Io, you're great. But Charlotte's like, I would love to work with Io Shirai. So you give us that. And Sasha Banks is that perfect wrestler where there's an baked-in fan base, but her herself has not been featured as much. So he's sort of saying, hey, that person you see every week but doesn't get to wrestle every week is having a match. Come check it out. Much like how, and I'm going to be completely honest with you, I tuned into half of the Saudi Arabia pay-per-views because Cesaro was on it. Hey, Cesaro pay-per-view match? I'll check it out. Why not? And that kind of gives, a chance for him to go. I didn't quite like the ending, but I like the fact it was a decisive finish in that regard. But yeah, Io Shirai and Sasha Banks is pay-per-view quality, which I guess is the point of these branded pre-rented shows.
Io Shirai, I always say that the best all-time female wrestler, in my opinion, is Charlotte Flair, and I think it's by quite a bit. But being the best all-time doesn't mean you're like the best right this second. I think Io Shirai right now is the class of women's wrestling. I think she's so good. She's got she's got everything. She's so good. I think the best of all time is still Charlotte Flair. And look, Charlotte Flair is still up there, but I think if you're like, who right now in this moment is the one, it's Io Shirai.
Would you buy a Shirai shirt?
Depends how it looks. All these depends how it looks. It has nothing to do with who the wrestler is. If it's a cool looking shirt, if I can wear it and I don't have to explain to everyone I see what my shirt says or what it is, then
I'm not asking them to do a fashion. The idea is like, look, I like Manchester City. I'm wearing a Manchester City shirt. I like the Houston Texans, but when they have merchandise, I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like, forget how it looks. I mean, I'm saying is, are you dedicated on that brand enough that you'd be like, yeah, I'll rep her, and I'll gladly talk about her in public.
I'd rep her, but again, like, see your shirt right now, you don't have to explain to me that that's a Manchester shirt. I know that it's a Manchester shirt. I know it's a soccer shirt. I know that. But what I don't want to have to do is have people go, oh, what does Io Shirai mean? Like, right. I don't want to have to, that's what I don't want to do. I don't want to have to deal with that stuff.
Okay, all right, let me rephrase the question. If wrestlers can only exist and only work if their fans donated money to them, would you donate money to Io Shirai? I'd say $26.
Oh, in that case, yeah. If you're talking what I finance, yeah, absolutely. Okay. I would buy the pay-per-views she's on. I would definitely do that.
That's what I'm saying.
That I get. If we're, that makes sense. That makes sense.
I can't with you. I can't.
You can't. No, well, it's true. You can't.
On Tuesday with the Everything Tournament, which you always featured on, I thought we were boys. But many times, you and I butt heads. I'm just saying.
I forgot to put that in the notes. We need to talk about the Everything Tournament. That was a fantastic time. I had a good time chatting with you guys about all things everything.
The pop culture tournament. Yeah, it's Evan Mack and Heidi Mack had this idea, and they asked me. And I really thought that I was going to be like a placeholder guy, like a practice worker, But it looks like we're all in on it. And every week, every Tuesday night, we do a giant bracket of all things popular culture, and we have celebrity guests that walk in and help out with some of the questions and discussion. And this guy, Jack, my boy, walked in there, shook my hand, and then
as a celebrity, by the way, I was a celebrity guest. I want to make that clear.
It's true. I was basic. You were extreme. Super kicked me and said back. I'm like, are you kidding me? You don't like them? Well, they're so much more important than everything else. And it's a lot of fun every Tuesday night on Twitch and Facebook Live. It's Everything Tournament.
That's what makes it a fun show. And anyone who watches this needs to watch the Everything Tournament, because it is one of those things where you find yourself picking to win the whole thing someone or something that you never thought. I never thought I would have picked the Backstreet Boys to win the whole thing ever at the beginning. No way would I have thought it. But as you go match by match, you're like, oh, I guess this is the one that's supposed to win. To be fair, that only happened because Evan threw a Hail Mary to save it at the last second. Yeah. He used a veto. He used some strategery, some tricks, to make it happen. It should have been and could have been Jackie Chan, but Derek's on celebrity status. One of these days, Flobo, you'll get there.
I will, hopefully. I'm not shot hawking Brosters. I gotta drink energy drink like a chump. If only Brosters came to me, guy.
You guys, though, have made a massive mistake already in this new tournament, by the way.
Yeah.
By the way, in the third one,
they brought back Kurt Russell.
I'll be honest, I kind of felt like that wasn't fair, bringing back Kurt Russell. I love Kurt Russell. I want justice for him, but it feels like once you're out, you're out. Speaking of being out, you guys did X-Men, the animated series, dirty. Their intro alone is worth going to the finals.
Everyone says that, but I tell you what, there's only so much story you can stretch over 5 or 6 episodes, baby. Gargoyles for the win.
Gargoyles, that show had like 3 seasons and then became trash. That show should have turned into a statue and stayed that way after 3 seasons.
Jackson hater. Why you hate on 2 shows?
Gargoyles was a good show, but I'm just telling you, already wins.
I can't with you, man. Forget it. Anyway, featuring Evan Mack and Heidi Mack. It's going to be great. I'm going to call Evan right now. Hopefully he comes on the show right now and say how much of a loser that whole idea that X-Men is better than Gargoyles is all about.
X-Men is such a good show. It talked about things that we were dealing with in real life, like differences between people in society, mutants and destructive robots, real things.
Same themes in that same show, Gargoyles, man, about acceptance, about what you can and can't do.
Except Gargoyles wasn't as good. They all had mullets. Every one of them had a mullet.
It was a different time back then. It was different. You can't judge over a different time.
You can't have Goliath standing there with a giant mullet and tell me that he is better than the X-Men. How dare you? How dare you?
Campaign to be returning on this Everything Tournament, but too bad X-Men is already gone. So check it out.
I can't believe I'm so frustrated about it. I'm letting it completely hijack our show so I can let you know that you were wrong.
You weren't there. If you don't like the vote, then go out and vote. I love you.
Anyways, remember how the Gargoyles was so successful it became a huge movie franchise? Oh, no.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, I remember that. It
Didn't happen.
Because the cartoon?
No one watched it. How does the beginning of Gargoyles go again? Oh, I can't remember. It's probably like, I am a gargoyle. Anyways, I want to talk about Fyter Fest. I want to talk about Fyter Fest. I thought it was a good show. I thought it was everything it was supposed to be. Great wrestling, great storyline development. I thought every single character came off looking better. It didn't have a lot of sizzle for me, though. I love MJF. I love MJF. I love Wardlow. I love Jungle Express. I love their feud, and I loved their match. But I think when you're, looking at cards and you are trying to decide what show to watch, I don't feel like that one pops out at me. It doesn't make me go, I have to watch this live.
Is Fyter Fest like their SummerSlam, or is it a Fight for the Fallen? Like, which one's bigger?
I don't think either one of them are. They were both free before they were an actual TV show. You know what I mean? Like they were like free pay-per-views before they were on TNT. So I don't really know what you would call them. I think what they're doing with them as is exactly what they are. It's just kind of like halfway points to the next pay-per-view kind of shows.
Sure.
I think they just added Fight for the Fallen to add a third week to sort of push past Great American Bash, which is why we'll probably see Sold Out as NXT Sold Out.
NXT Sold Out. Gary actually asked that, like, what do you think will be the next one? I'm thinking it should be Halloween. Even though I'm not a big Halloween Havoc fan, I feel like that should be it. Wait, hold on. I think we have a special guest here.
Evan Mack.
Yeah, man, I'm here.
So Evan arguing that the X-Men before is better than the Gargoyles, and we played the chat.
This is right.
No, we decided there was the Gargoyles.
It's X-Men, hands down.
No, it's definitely X-Men for many reasons. I started thinking about it as these haters in the chat would talk about Gargoyles, man, and it's good. Gargoyles didn't even last that long.
No,
you know what?
It didn't last that long.
It's like 3 seasons.
Well, I think it was like 5, but like the second 2 were just awful and made by a different company.
Yes.
Everyone thinks about the Song of X-Men, and that's it, man. I'm telling you, that storytelling was decompressed. That guy has the best ring gear, so you should go to
Listen. No, the source material from the comic is perfect. They do everything the way they do. They like Mr. Sinister. They do like Apocalypse. They bring in so many dope, like Jubilation Lee, man. Like, they do a great job, man.
The Phoenix Saga as a whole season. A whole season that was meant for kids, and they were like, "No, kids, we're gonna do this whole thing. We're gonna do it right. We don't care that you're 5. You're gonna have to learn to watch this show." You
know what, man? Too bad lost though. Why the chat agree with me and said that, hey, look, X-Men are kind of lame? Because it is. I'm telling you,
the chat ultimately rules, man. Because my opinion is it's a moot point. But that don't mean I ain't gonna say Sweeney.
Dun, dun.
I can't believe I Evan Arnott hit me in the face. That's a Ribopolis something right there.
There's that one scene in the intro when Wolverine just poses and his name's above his head. That moment beats everything.
Or
that moment.
The part where they say storm. The part where they say storm. She does the whoosh and the freaking the lightning and the rain comes and it says storm. I'm like, damn.
Yes. Done. It wins.
I don't like this show anymore. I thought y'all was cool. We're homies, but apparently not.
That show is so good. Remember when they go on the island, the mutant island?
Yes. Yeah, and they're all trying to enslave the mutants there.
Come on, man.
Well, too bad. You brought back Kurt Russell. You can't bring back X-Men until the next tournament. Every Tuesday night, 7:30 Eastern on Twitch, we're going to argue about why X-Men sucks compared to the
Gargoyles. Oh, my God.
Listen, you can't, justice for Kurt Russell, justice for X-Men.
No. Yes. He was gone, man. This guy beat him on Tuesday also.
I think he's up against Olive Garden next week. I think Russell, if he beats Olive Garden, it's gonna be a problem, man.
I will quit if I quit.
When you're on the show, that makes total sense. But for those of you who haven't seen the Everything tournament yet, that's got to be the most random thing. Kurt Russell versus Olive Garden.
A resurrected Kurt Russell. He already lost. He was gone.
I just want Kurt Russell to pop in the chat being like, guys, come on, it's Olive Garden, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. It's Olive Garden.
He's still dressed up like the Hateful Eight with the big mustache.
He's like, guys, endless breadsticks, man. Come on.
Baby, before I get you go, man, put yourself over, brother.
Say it again.
Put yourself over, man.
Oh man, M&T Mac, at Coco Cena, Instagram and Twitter. You gentlemen keep up the good work. I shall be watching.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for popping in, Mac. Always good to see you.
Swinging to the Sweeney. I'm out.
I hate the show too now.
What a treat. I am so excited. That made my day. Always good to see Mac. Always good to see him, especially when he agrees. If he disagreed, I would have been like, listen, man, you got to tell me that kind of stuff.
I see how it is.
Yeah. If he disagreed, I'd be like, listen, man, we got to talk about adding people to the show before they come on. But because he agreed, I'm like, this is great. Yeah, it's great seeing him come on.
Win.
Haywood let us know Genosha was the name of the island for those of you who
right.
were asking about. Savage Land was another good spot in that cartoon. I'm all over the place. Speaking of greatness, we're just going to move on from Fyter Fest. We're going to move on around. We're going to go on. I want to chat with you real quick about The Last Ride. If we're going to talk about legendary stuff from the past that was kind of cartoony, let's talk about Undertaker for a little bit. I finally caught up with everyone. I watched the doc. I watched it all the way through, all 5 episodes. Real quick, what are your thoughts on The Last Ride?
Oh, man.
I feel like the energy level just dropped down a little bit. How do we keep the energy level that high?
Well, how about we not talk about X-Men? That'd be great. The last was awesome. It shouldn't have been 5 hours, but The Last Dance was 5 hours. Tiger King was 7 hours, it's just, or whatever hours Last Dance was. So, yeah, I get it. We're in quarantine. Everything's all spread out. Mm-hmm. Undertaker's a legend. Loved him. He was great with the satanic stuff, the big evil stuff, and the American Badass, which I do separate. It's 2 different eras. Mm-hmm. I think it's kind of a whimper that he just said 6 weeks after his match, like, yeah, I'm done. But at the same time, like Edge said on the documentary, he can go whenever he wants. There's going to be no one better than AJ. The Boneyard match is one of a kind. It was a lot better than the Saudi Arabia matches. Like, what else could you possibly give this guy? But I know there was some chatter about giving him his last entrance at WrestleMania next year. I think that would be a cool moment when he's in the Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. But as far as everything, that was fine. It was solid.
It was interesting, though, how everyone says his career must be over and he must be retired, when literally it was like episode 1. He's like, I think I'm done. I think I'm retired. Episode 2, I'm coming back for one more. And then at the end of episode 2, that's it. I'm done. I'm retired. And then the episode 3, I'm coming back for one more. And then we did it literally 5 times in a row. And then we're like, oh, well, he must be done. He said he's done. He said it like 5 times. How are we just going to go ahead and start writing checks that this guy's done?
I feel the same way I play video games. There's days like, oh, I can't leave in a loss. Oh, that was win, but I wasn't satisfying. Oh, I killed them over 2 in a row. It just becomes that thing. And props to Michelle McCool, but she's becoming like a movie wife. Like, you said you were done. Think of your children.
I know she was. You feel bad for her because there's this part of you that's like, why can't she support him in doing this? I mean, this is what he does. Why is she so mean? But at the same time, you're like, she's been doing this for like 10 years. Like, dude, you've been saying you're done for like 10 years. She's been pretty supportive. And when you think of it and like pull back for a minute, she's been about as supportive as you could expect.
You see, at the time where you saw her wrestling, he was like he was there and supporting her, but he was like, oh, can't believe doing nothing while my wife is wrestling. What about me?
I saw a great meme that was, it showed like the first video game The Undertaker was ever in, and it was that like old, what's it called? Like a Royal Rumble game or whatever. He was a little sprite, and then it showed him in WWE 2K20, and like this is how long his career was. And it's like, man, that's crazy that he went for that long. I thought it was fun. I agree. I kind of felt like they probably could have cut it down a little bit, but it's The Undertaker. I'll watch his stuff all the live long day. I think that the Boneyard match is a perfect way for him to end the career because, as we were talking about offline, I think that it's such a cool way to say you have started a new type of storytelling in matches as a way to take off and leave. And it's still, to this day, much like he has set the standard for like the Hell in a Cell, it's set the standard for cinematic matches, I think, the Boneyard. I still compare all of them to the Boneyard.
Sure. I think, it's far and away the better one, I think.
Yeah, I think if going back, I don't know. I honestly don't know how much of that is just because it was the first one. Like if we saw Money in the Bank first and then Boneyard, I don't know if I would look at it the same way, but
No, because it wasn't played for comedy. Like every other cinematic match had a little bit of tongue-in-cheek humor about it. Maybe the last beat was the only thing I could think of. And I think that that's a stretch for me because I'm like, I like it, but it's very polarizing. But the Bony Arm was the first one. It was serious. It was a personal feud because wrestling's about storytelling, about this guy getting retribution. And I didn't even notice at the time, but he did say, hey, look, it's American Badass, Dead Man, and Mark at the same time. And I go, oh, I get it. And watching the match a third time on SmackDown last week when he aired it in its entirety with commercials, unfortunately, that, yeah, he's given everything he could. Right, so there's nothing to ask or beg for, say for an autograph if you're listening to this one, please.
I think AJ is the right guy too. We talked about this. I think the time for him putting over a new guy, a young guy, has come and gone. I think it's just time for him to go. I think someone like AJ, who's a legend in every shape, every way of every sense of the word, he's a legend. He's done it all. He's great. I think he's a good person to end it. I don't think he needs to be some young guy. It doesn't need to be Dominik Dijakovic coming up from NXT or someone who, trying to make somebody. Nothing against Dominik Dijakovic.
Where is he? I haven't seen him forever.
Pulled his name out of a hat. But do you think AJ is the right guy? If it turns out to be AJ, are you happy?
I am for two reasons. One, it's true. AJ has done it long enough that he can make anyone look good, and he is new still in WWE's eyes. He's only been there for 6 years, 4 years, 5 years, which is kind of
time flies.
Yeah, which is kind of new for them. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like he was like a lifer or like someone like a Kofi has been there 10, 15 years where you associate him with just WWE. I look at AJ Styles, even though he's been the WWE champion for a year and change, he's still an outside guy who came in. So I think that has an attraction to it. And two, on a personal level, that's why I asked you after you watched it, was he the right guy to campaign to be the last guy? I mean, they had a bit of a link, man. They're two country boys with similar similarities and sensibilities. And a lot of ways, Taker saw that AJ got to apply his craft outside. I think a lot of times Taker wanted to go outside to be a better performer, but didn't have the chance to because he wouldn't be loyal to his boss. So he kind of saw that in him. Whereas, AJ Styles saw the Promised Land featuring the Taker. So they had a bit of this weird yin and yang vibe to it. So I think it was pretty much perfect. There's not much else you can do story-wise, but everyone wants one more entrance or one more match.
I do. I'm always going to, if he retired, I'm happy. I think that was a great way to send it off, but I'm a fan. He could, like I've said before, he could weekend at Bernie's down the ramp for the rest of time, and I will still be like, yeah, Undertaker.
Telling your kid, he was great 30 years ago. You got it.
He is forever on my Mount Rushmore of wrestlers. I think he's one of the best. I'm a huge fan of him. So good for him. I want to talk about some people. I want to talk about the people that retired The Undertaker. I want to talk about the Good Brothers. I want to talk about Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. I think really look back.
The Good Brothers.
No, but so rumors are that they're going to Impact. Everything I've heard and seen online is that they're going to Impact.
Sure.
Just real quick thoughts. Is that the right move for them? Do you like hearing that? Do you think they should have gone somewhere else like AEW? Do you think they should have gone back to Japan? What do you think about them going to Impact?
When someone goes from WWE to Impact, that just tells me, or the orange flag, not a red flag or green flag, it's just like, look, man, I got to feed myself. You can't knock me for trying to feed myself, but I'm not going to your direct competition. So keep that in mind if you ever try to get more talent. So unlike the Revival and they go to AEW, I think, I don't say it's a closed door, but it'd be a lot harder for them to come back after their time with AEW. Like Christian came back when Impact was the second promotion in the country. So I'm not saying it's a whatever, but when Deonna Purrazzo went or when the Good Brothers went, it is them saying, hey, look, I want a promotion that will give me the schedule I want, make me some sort of a threat or a top billing thing. And if WWE says, hey, after your contract, come on back, we have something, then you can say, hey, I didn't go, I went off this side thing. I went to this other promotion that's not really a threat to you anymore.
Yeah, Impact feels very building for yourself, right? So like it definitely feels like, look, we were on Raw, we weren't exactly dominant. We have to build ourselves back up before signing that big long contract. Now, for all I know, they signed like a 15-year deal at Impact. They may not even sign at Impact. I just saw it on Twitter. I'm not a reporter. I don't know. I'm not a journalist.
Too, quote unquote. Remember that?
Yeah. For what was that?
Remember Brian Cage was going to Impact, quote unquote.
Yeah, I mean, I don't trust anything until I see them on my TV. But I think it's good for them. I think it's actually probably the best move because even if there wasn't sort of tension between AEW and WWE right now, the AEW tag team roster is so stacked. Unless you really believe, unless you can look in the mirror and say to yourself, we are literally one of the best tag teams on the planet right now, you have no business in AEW as a tag team. You have to be really, really good to stand out on that tag team roster right now. So not even a shot at them. I just think they're not coming in hot after WWE because they weren't really on a roll in WWE. I think they need something like Impact to get that momentum going before they sign up with someone big. So hopefully good things for them. I have nothing against them.
Anymore.
I like Carl Anderson.
You hate Festus. It's true.
So Tessa Blanchard no longer with Impact. She was the champion, is not the champion anymore. We don't know where she's going, what she's doing, what the plans are for her. I've heard rumors, meaning I'm on Twitter, that she is tied to NXT. NXT seems to be the place she's going to go. I think that's the right move for someone like her, but it's an interesting thing, and I want to get your take on that. If you're someone like Tessa, who many people say is the best woman wrestler going right now, do you go to a place like NXT that has one of the deepest rosters of women wrestlers, or WWE that has the deepest roster that has ever been, and try to be the best of the best, or do you go somewhere like an AEW and try to build something new? What do you think with that?
It's not even about that anymore. It is not about that, and it's a shame for Tessa Blanchard. Whether or not the allegations about her are true or not, a lot of independent wrestling companies, the ones that want to present themselves as being more fan-centric, are not going to touch Tessa. There's just too much stuff going on, the way she treated other independent wrestlers. The only thing you would do at this point, and that was me if I was Tessa Blanchard, is to go to, which is ironic because things were allegedly racist, right? But the thing is, if you go to a promotion that's bigger than yourself, so you can hide in plain sight and work on rehabbing your image. And there's really only one company you can do that with, and that's NXT WWE. So yeah, I'm Tessa Blanchard. I'm going there. I'm going to be in this cognitive machine. Oh, I'm just somebody named Tessa. Don't worry about it. They'll put some packages on before my matches, remind people that I'm the daughter of whatever. And after 2-3 years, I make the decision to jump. But there's no reason why Tony Khan should put Sammy Guevara in sensitivity training and go, come on, Tessa. It would just seem like a giant disconnect. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I think that is all really good points. I think even beyond that, I think if you're the best at what you do, or at least you've claimed to be the best at what you do for that long, you need to go against the other best in the world. And no disrespect to AEW, the women on the AEW roster. I think there's a lot of great talent there. But right now, as I've said before, NXT and WWE just have such talent on that roster. I think you have to do yourself that favor and be a part of that. It's like if you're a fighter and you want to help someone like Bellator grow, cool. But if you're the best in the world, you have to test yourself in the UFC. You just have to. You can move on later and do other things, but I think she'll regret it if she doesn't take that shot at them. I don't know her. Maybe she doesn't care, but that would be my thought. Last of all, EC3 has been posting videos up, and his most recent one had some wordplay aimed at AEW, but then actually ended with the AEW logo behind him. To me, that says he's going, am I too quick to
not at all, man.
Assume that, or
I don't see why.
Do you think this is pretty much it?
Until they say no, the rumors are unfounded, that's definitely something I would try to do. I mean, EC3 has all the tools, man. Nice guy, nice size, nice look, young, dope tan. My problem with WWE was a question that was never solved, and that is, how do you establish an EC3 with no Dixie Carter and they made fun of him. I mean, Ambrose buried him on his way out, and he was kind of lost until then. So it's unfortunate he lost his job, but I can't knock him for going to the second biggest promotion in the company, in the country.
Yeah. It's very well. I mean, I think the other side of it, a lot of people think it makes sense for him to go to Impact, where he had a great run and he was used very well, and it all made sense over there. I personally like to see him in AEW just because it's the bigger of the opportunities. I think he fits well in AEW. He makes sense in AEW because he also seems over the past few months like someone who wants to make his own content, and AEW seems like you want to build your own brand, build your own content, and promote yourself your own way kind of company, as opposed to, from what it seems in the past, I've never worked at the WWE, and I don't know, but it does seem more like they want you to sort of stay within the guidelines that they're setting. AEW feels more like, look, man, you make your character, you make your own stuff, you put your Free the Delete or Being the Elite or Road to or the stuff out there, and we'll see if it works. I think that's who he is, and so I think that kind of plays to what would do him well.
Yeah, and he's also a type that AEW doesn't have, the classic wrestler look. And I know they want to avoid that with guys like, Lance Archer and whatnot. But when it comes down to it, you can't rely on 35 and 40 rules forever. I mean, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, they'll watch your tapes and then say, this sucked. You're going to have to get some kids in there. I'm not saying appeal to kids. I'm not saying come up with clowns and have comedy segments, but you can imagine a classic-looking EC3 coming out with his like fresh, clean tights and his like chiseled look, but he's not a machine like Brian Cage. He's not covered in all those tattoos like a Havoc, and he's not supposed to do like this weird Japan vibe as like the U.S. title, former U.S. title holder Lance Archer. So like it's a very clean look. I think they can need something that in the roster. Again, that's me as shadow booker. That's a guy you put out there, even if he goes in a losing effort. That's the one that is going to be the one that's going to be on your programs. That's the one that's going to get people saying, I don't like this promotion, but that guy looks pretty cool. It could be EC3. It could be EC3.
Does EC3 and Brian Cage look too similar? I mean, I think Brian Cage is a bit bigger.
Yeah, they look similar. I mean, they're both white guys.
Do you think they look the same? EC3 and Brian Cage?
No, they're two white guys with black heads, but no, they're kind of different.
Yeah, I mean, but they're both pretty yoked too. So yeah, I think it's a good thing. I think it's good. I want to see him. As far as the Dixie Carter thing, I think it's very easy. You just say his family is friends with the Khans, and his wealthy family is friends with the Khans, and then you basically create the same story. It's just not Carter. I mean, he can still call himself Carter. Who cares?
Right.
I don't know. I feel like you don't need to overthink it too much when you're talking about that kind of stuff. A few quick things I wanted to run by you. I don't have the quote here because I am a terrible journalist, but Arn Anderson said recently, Sheamus has everything except he doesn't get the concept of selling, basically, saying he doesn't understand that as a bad guy, sometimes you just need to get beat up. You need to take your licks every now and again, and he doesn't do that. Do you think Arn Anderson has a point about Sheamus? I know Sheamus is your boy. That's why I brought this up.
Yeah, I know, jerk. No, I'm just kidding. I would think Arn Anderson is right when Sheamus was solo. When Sheamus was solo, the Celtic Warrior didn't do a good job of getting hurt and beat up. He was a guy that got rolled up and was like, "Oh, Christ, my God, how could you?" But as the bar, he got beat up every time. He got like destroyed by Shane McMahon and Kevin Owens. So I don't know, Arn. I don't know.
So yeah, it's interesting. I always say I'm not in the industry, so it's hard for me to really tell, and you don't really know what they're trying to accomplish. Derek Fisher says you're a better journalist than Michael Cole. I appreciate the comment, but Michael Cole was actually like a legit journalist at one point. He went to Iraq, I believe, or I'm gonna go ahead and say you're right. I am a better journalist. I'm amazing. No. I've got love for Michael Cole. Yeah, so I just thought that was an interesting thing I wanted to bring up. I want to play a quick game with you. We're running out of time, and I promised myself I'd be better about this whole timing thing. I want to do a quick rapid fire. 3 wrestlers that are on the AEW roster that you think would be better on NXT,
Roy?
and 3 people in WWE NXT who would think would be better off in AEW.
Roy.
Now, I don't want to get too far into like, they'll get made, like, their wife is in the other company or anything like that. Just like, what do you think they would get used better? Their styles fit better, etc.
So here's my blockbuster trade.
I will start if that's okay.
All right, sure.
Or no, you go. I think my internet is bad again. I'm working on my internet, folks. I'm sorry. It's been terrible. I can't tell you the wars I've been going through with Spectrum and Fios, right, or Frontier or whatever. I don't know. I've been on the phone with them all day. It's terrible. I'm sorry. I know it's not good. I'm working on it. Anyways.
We launched a show.
Let me hear your first
network.
your first blockbuster trade. Your first person.
Done. But yeah, so here's my blockbuster trade. If I was facilitating a 7-person deal, if you can imagine that, going to AEW would be Candice LeRae,
Wow.
the Brit and Brawlers. That's Birch and Lorcan, only Lorcan and Birch, and Jake Atlas. That's 4 people. And in return, NXT will get Trent Beretta, Ray Fenix, and Big Swole Ariel Monroe. That would be my 7-person deal.
Interesting. So let's break that down because so first off, who is the first person that Candice LeRae? Okay, good. I think AEW would benefit from having a talented female wrestler. Who was the next one?
Brit and Brawlers, Danny Burch and Only Lorcan.
That one I disagree with. I'm gonna tell you. I don't agree with it. I think you're wrong. I'm just gonna say you're wrong. I think they're a great team, but I think they would be 100% lost in the shuffle in the tag team division in AEW. And I think
because I'm a big fan of them and I support them all the time. But I would say this: the FTR aren't coming as hot as we thought it was. We need someone in the tag team undercard to make other teams look good. And right now it's Private Party, and that can't work because they're too much of a flowery gimmick. And 3 of them hit pretty hard. That's like dark fodder right there. That's what they're as a collective unit. That's why AEW gets 4 people.
I mean, that's what Butcher and the Blade are.
Nah, they suck though.
No, they're great. I love those 2. We'll agree to disagree. Who is the 4th one?
Jake Atlas.
Great, love it. That's good. Who would NXT get?
Trent Beretta. So
I had him as one of mine. I agree. I think him going through NXT would be fantastic. I think he stands out as a great singles wrestler, but I think he would do a lot of good going through their NXT program.
Ray Fenix.
I disagree with that.
Okay.
I think he's great. I think that I just get this feeling he'd end up in Lucha House Party.
NXT? I don't know, man. I don't know.
I think I look at like what happened. I always want to call him King Cuerno. I always want to call him Cuerno.
Yeah.
What was his name in? Like, and I look at how they just unmasked him and stuff. I feel like they would do that to Phoenix.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I think that's a lot more fair than being Lucha House Party, if I'm being honest.
And then who was the last one?
Big Swole, Ariel Monroe.
That'd be great too. Yeah, they would do. Big Swole would be great over there. I think Big Swole will be successful wherever she is. But I think NXT has such a proven track record that good for her. She'd be great over there too. So I agree with that. My trades. I didn't really necessarily put it as a trade, but like I said,
no, I'm just kidding.
I said, like I said, I think we agree on Trent. I think Trent would be great. AEW going to NXT. I think Chris Statlander would be great going from AEW to NXT because
she's healthy.
If she was healthy, yeah. Because I think she's got a ton of raw talent. I feel like everyone says the alien thing isn't working, and I feel like NXT would be like, yeah, the alien thing isn't working. We're going to give you something and correct it. Where I think AEW is kind of like, look, be yourself.
I disagree. It's not even her fault. She's at an awkward size. So she's not quite a monster, but she's not quite the speedy or even like that. It's almost like Bailey, almost like this weird position where like, where do you put her? Which is why I thought about her, but I didn't pull the trigger on that.
Fair enough. I think she's also like got a lot. I think working with the trainers at NXT would be really good for her as well. But my not big one, but I think someone who would probably gained the most from NXT, and I love him. So as an AEW fan, I'd be bummed. Kip Sabian. I think Kip Sabian has everything that the people in NXT look for, and I think he would stand out more. And I think it gets a little lost at AEW. I don't think they really have a place for him except for being the slip on a banana peel guy. And I think that he could probably have a pretty good run over in NXT, I think, if he was over there. Plus, he's super young, so they could develop him. I think he would do really well over there. I think from NXT or from WWE or NXT to AEW, I think the people that I put Morrow. I think Morrow would be such a good announcer for AEW. He is my favorite announcer. I think that right now, one of the things I think AEW could use on the announce booth is a little bit more excitement, a little bit more fun. Like, the guys are all great, but they're all, Excalibur's very technical and very detailed, and JR is a legend, but he's also a little bit older, so the excitement level isn't quite there as much, and Tony's a little bit stuck between those two, where I think Morrow, watching the best Meltzer ever going, Mamma Mia, would be exactly what AEW needs for that part. Bianca Belair, I thought, would be a fantastic addition to their women's division. Just a super athlete, super great look. From what I've heard on the microphone, she's great. And I think she would just get more shine time there. I think the division's just too deep in WWE, and that's why we're not seeing her on programming right now. I think she has everything you would need. She just needs the time, and I think AEW has that for her. Tyler Bate is one I think would be great to come over because... I think he's great. I think he's a little bit small, which holds him back in WWE, unfortunately. But I think that's not a problem in AEW. So I think he would.
Best chance ever, though. The Tyler Bate, or big strong boy.
I think he would shine in AEW. I think he'd be great there. I added a few more because I didn't know who you were going to say. Cesaro was actually one I thought would be great because I think he would get the time in AEW. But I had him as an extra because I thought you were going to call him out for that. So I didn't.
So as close to me as possible.
And then also Kevin Owens, I think, could have a career resurgence in a place like AEW.
As Kevin Steen, you think?
Well, he couldn't be Owens. He'd have to be Steen. But
I don't know if it was like going back like a Sean Spears, like a brand new character, like an exalted one.
I think he'd still just be himself, right? I think he'd just be himself, but I think I just think they would give him the time, and I think he's someone who probably would create his own stuff, and that's what they look for over in AEW, I believe. So those are mine. It was a lot easier to find guys that would be good to go to AEW because they're such a big roster, and WWE struggles with being able to get so many people on TV. So it was a little bit easier to go that way than the other way, where AEW has a smaller roster, and so they kind of need everybody. But yeah, that was it. Now, that's kind of the end. We're past an hour, but I promise we're going to wrap up. And now I always have a random mystery question for you at the end. This one's a good one. All right, you ready? You have to give an answer, okay?
Oh, no.
I don't know if I'll be able to get through this without laughing. Okay, would you rather? It's a would you rather.
Okay.
Would you rather eat through your butt or poop through your mouth?
I know what you meant. Like poop through my. Ugh. I mean, how do you go to restaurants if you eat through your butt? I guess that one. Because I feel it's the same thing. Because this is like a two-way street now. Is my butt a two-way street? Or am I assuming one leads to the other?
I didn't even think about that. The other.
They do suppositories 3 times a day. Whatever, bro.
Okay, well, that does it for us.
Wait, were you gonna answer?
No, I'm not gonna answer that one. I would never answer that question. That's ridiculous. Who would have?
Hate you on this show and the other one.
So that was fun. I'm glad we did that. That was a good fun time for me.
For you, right?
Well, guys, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. As always, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Flobo, let everyone know where they can find you.
Yeah, you can follow me all over the internet, right on Twitter at Flobo Boys, on Instagram at Flobito and Flobito.com. The Everything Tournament, the show that Evan just came in and buried me on, is every Tuesday night, 7:30 Eastern on Twitch and Facebook Live. And Jack Farmer was a guest. Will he be a guest again? Only time will tell. And I enjoyed everyone in the chat. This show moves over to the Jack Farmer Network next week. Can't wait for that.
Yeah, it's going to be fun going on mine. You guys won't even notice the difference. It's going to look the exact same, except for maybe my internet will look a little bit better. Buy a Flobo's t-shirt. Yeah, you can find me on AfterBuzz TV doing the Raw after show, the AEW after show. You can see me doing this after show. And while we were recording this, I may have gotten a text about doing a certain everything tournament next week. So
Oh, no.
I may be coming by on there as well. So make sure to check that out. And everyone, as always, until next time, do your best and be yourself.
Wear a mask.